Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Crew podcast. It's episode 4 and I, for one, am buzzing. It's tropical IPAs this week. I'm Kinger. I'm joined by Mark.
Hello.
Nally.
Well.
And Walshy.
Hello there.
So, tropical IPAs, we were chatting before this. I think Sierra Nevada Tropical Torpedo IPA is what would be kind of fairly well known around the world, right?
Yeah, I guess IPAs in general, Sierra Nevada would be the main name in that. And, you know, tropical IPAs are just tropical fruit infused IPAs. And so they're not too different from your standard IPA, but Nally's going to take us through why and what they are.
Yeah, so your standard IPA, they get the name Indian Pale Ale. There's a story behind it. Whether it's true or not is up for debate. But basically what happened was they were making beer and it was being brought over to India and it was coming from England. But as they were making it, they had to travel down the coast of Africa. So the beer would be in the barrels and it would spoil as it hit the equator because of the heat. Heat back up and then it would cool back down as it went around South Africa, around the Horn of Africa. So after a while, what they found was higher strength beers. If you get beer and you highly hop it, hops have slightly antimicrobial properties. So if you highly hop a beer, you keep the higher alcohol percentage, it tends to not spoil as easily. These beers made it over to India and they were a huge hit, huge success over there, and they lasted the whole journey, which was the main thing. But because of this, then they got the name India Pale Ale, IPAs. And with IPAs, the big thing is they tend to be very hop forward. So, you know, they kind of all went out of fashion for a long time, and then in the late 70s, early 80s, that's where Sierra Nevada and that over in America kind of came back with IPAs. A whole new range of hops that they had grown in America start coming to the fore, and they start breeding different hop types to get different flavors into the beer. That's kind of where the IPAs come from, and now they've evolved into heaps of different styles at this stage. So they have.
Yeah, and so Nally, I've been looking into it, and there's kind of 4 main types of IPAs based on classifications. And the first is like the English style. So that's what we'd have in Ireland here a lot, or in England, and it's kind of based on the original. So it's not that hoppy. You get kind of strong fruit flavors and a kind of a gold color when you're pouring it. Then there's the American style, which is huge flavors, so really hoppy, really bitter, and if it's citrus, it's really citrusy. Then you got your Imperial, which is, you know, kind of 7.5% plus, so your double IPAs, and your session IPAs, which are lower in alcohol content, so 3.5 to 5%.
I think it's probably one of the ones that people kind of get into first when they get into craft beers, right? I think it's probably the largest kind of, would you say, sector or style of craft beer? Am I wrong or right there?
Yeah, so definitely, it's kind of the biggest seller in all of craft beer as well. You generally have a lot of craft breweries will tend to make maybe 2 or 3 styles of IPA, and they tend to be the biggest sellers. A lot of people get into craft beer through IPAs, so they do, yeah. I know I did anyway.
And I discovered that we should be pronouncing it as an IPA because the first time IPA was actually used was in Australia, apparently. The name East India Pale Ale appeared in an ad printed in 1892 in the Sydney Gazette, but it didn't mention the name of the brewery that was making it. It just said IPA. So I think that's where the abbreviation might have come from.
It's great to know that our Southern Hemisphere cousins also won't give the English credit for anything.
Cheers.
Right, and as we're talking about kind of giving stuff their hoppy flavour and stuff like that, I just the hop plant itself comes in both male and female forms. The male is typically used to breed the plant and is not for the taste, whereas the female strand of the plant is what goes into the brewing process and gives that hoppy IPA flavour.
It's very similar to its cousin plant that you'd be very familiar with there, Walshy, the hemp plant, yeah?
No, not me. I don't touch that stuff.
Instant denial.
I think that might be that could be a separate episode, I'd say.
Throwing out accusations that I don't appreciate.
We'll have to travel over to Colorado or Canada or somewhere for that episode.
Yes. Yeah. Apparently, and not to go off on a tangent early in this episode, but apparently there's IPAs, which I'm very interested in trying. I think it comes from the CBD side of stuff. But
in saying that, going off me saying I retract them accusations, I am really looking forward to trying a IPA.
I mean, at this stage, it would be rude not to put it on the list, I guess.
Wouldn't it? Mark looks like he's on the fence there for some reason.
Just try my best not to incriminate anything about myself or anyone I know.
Mark, listen, you chose our beers this week, and they're tropical IPAs. So you've chosen Brewdog Elvis Juice and Hopfully's Graciosa, right?
Yeah, that's right, Kinger. So anyone who knows me will know I have a very fruity flavour. I'm a tropical kind of guy. You know, many's a Hawaiian shirt in my wardrobe. And I thought we'd go a bit off script instead of just doing some boring old IPAs. Let's lighten it up a bit. So I think the first one we're going to start with today is the Brewdog Elvis Juice. So let's rock and roll and open this up.
Rock and roll, he says. Elvis Juice. Oh, is that intentional?
Absolutely, that was intentional.
He's been sitting on that for a week.
Oh, of course he has. Absolutely. It's probably the only reason he picked it as well.
Oh my god, that smells unbelievable.
Okay, so for all our listeners, we're going to use our typical rating system. So starting off with the colour, guys, it's a hazy enough IPA, kind of really rich brown colour. Nice head on it as well. It holds the head pretty well.
That's what she said.
Early. It's a lot darker than I was expecting it to be. I don't know why I thought it would be a lighter beer, but
yeah, it's pretty dark. I think it's kind of see-through though. It's not super hazy. It's not like orange juice or anything like that. It's clear-ish.
Yeah, I compare it to grapefruit juice, but I don't know what grapefruit juice is. So
no,
that'll be grapefruit, Mark.
Early.
So in terms of aroma, guys, you can definitely get that grapefruit smell. You know, it's a really, really potent smell, and I think it's really nice. Now, if you don't like grapefruits, maybe it's not for you. But how do you guys feel about it?
I think it smells lovely. I wouldn't be a massive grapefruit fan per se, but it smells really. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It is
tropical.
It's a real pleasing smell to it.
So yeah, Kinger, I'd agree with you. It's kind of a really sweet smell. So it is. Not a big fan of grapefruit either, but it is a really sweet smell and definitely not off-putting anyway, as opposed to the sours.
I don't know. I'm getting the grapefruit, but I feel like there's nearly something else there, and I don't know whether it's just me or.
I've had a taste. I'm disappointed. Like early on, I have to say.
Yeah. So the thing with this is this beer smells fantastic. However, it's got this kind of graty feel on your tongue, kind of a harsh mouthfeel. So I'm going to assume you guys are getting that. You can correct me now in a sec if I'm wrong. But that harsh mouthfeel kind of makes it very acidic. And, you know, it's almost like a little burny as you drink it, you know? Like, you know when you hold toothpaste in your mouth for too long and you're like, ugh, that kind of feeling? I get that with this beer.
It kind of goes real quick when it's in your mouth, but leaves that grapefruity flavour there. It just sticks to your mouth, so it does. Lasts for quite a while.
So this is my first time having Elvis juice, and I've heard you guys talk about it a good bit, like not rave about it, but you all said that, well, some of you have said that you've enjoyed it in the past, and I've been looking forward to this since I knew we were doing it this week. But like initially, I was a bit disappointed when I tasted it. The more I drink it, I'm starting to get the more grapefruity flavors coming through kind of now. It's a bit more enjoyable, I think, the more you drink it, which is probably a dangerous precedent to set for any beer.
Yeah, it has a tendency to settle down on you. It kind of grows on you. It settles down after you drink your first few mouthfuls, and maybe it's numbing your taste buds after that sharp acidic blast you get for the start of it. But it's a really solid tropical IPA for anyone who kind of is like, maybe you've had a few IPAs or you want to get into it, but you don't want to have that real ale hoppy taste. This is a really solid one to get into.
I don't know if when I had it first, I remember it being very nice, and I don't know if from talking about it, I've expected more. Not to say that's let me down, but it's not wowing me like I thought it did the last time I did try it, if that makes sense. Is anybody else finding it kind of gassy?
Yes, 100%.
I'm deliberately doing it off mic, but I'm burping a lot drinking this.
It could be additional sugars in there, and as the yeast ferments that, it's giving off the carbon dioxide to CO2, so that definitely could be, that is what's contributing to the gas anyway, is the amount of sugar that's in there.
Just to throw it back to Walshy, And I've had this about 6 months ago, and I really loved it. And I'm in the same boat as you. That the last time I had it, I think it was nicer, you know. And is this maybe I thought it's by Brewdog, okay, which is a Scottish brewery. They've gotten very big lately. They were selling like shares. You can buy shares in Brewdog. You can become a member of one of their bars. But maybe this is just an instance of different batches maybe having different tastes, and maybe their earlier batches are a bit nicer.
Yeah, I'd be the same, Mark. I had it a while ago as well. It's been a while since I've had it, but it's not it's not bad by any stretch, I don't think. But it's not living up to what I had in my head again. But saying that as well, it's a tropical IPA. I don't know if you've looked outside, but it is most certainly not tropical weather out there. So it could be having an impact on it. Sitting in a cold winter with snow pelting down. It's not the norm for this kind of beer for me anyway.
So on the Crafty Crew podcast, we have devised a very scientific rating system. It's 1 to 5, and it starts at unbearable, booze, beer, brutiful, and unbeerleavable, Jeff. I always seem to struggle trying to get through those. I think it's because unbearable and unbeerleavable are quite similar. But,
yeah.
Where are we starting with this one?
So I'd like to throw my hat in the ring first. I kind of thought, based on my previous experience, we might be trying our first unbeerleavable Jeff beer. But based on this tasting, no, it's definitely not. I think for me, it's in the beer to Brutiful range. I'm going to go with a Brutiful because I think it just does enough to get up to that.
Yeah, so for me, it's just beer. I don't think it. I'm not a big fan of grapefruit. I get that that's what it is. It's a grapefruit infused beer. So if you're not a big fan of grapefruit, you might like it as much. It's grand. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think it's Brutiful. It's just a beer. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it's nothing above average for me. Just that grapefruit it's kind of overpowering nearly when you get near the end of it. It's just like it's sitting there waiting to hit you when you get to the end of the can, and it's just not for me. It's grand, but I drink another one or two, but I won't be sticking on it all night.
Going off what I said last time, kind of, and we've all seemed to have done this, kind of our expectations of last time and talking about it a few times, we kind of hyped it up a bit. Now, I was never as high on what Mark was thinking in Unbelievable. I was kind of around the Brutiful side originally, but now I'm kind of just beer, and as you know, I rate beer on what it is. I'm even a little under that, but I would be leaning towards just beer, if anything.
You'll rate the beer lower because I've had something to do with it, Walshy, and we have a grudge.
Hey, you said it. I said nothing.
No, there's no bias here now. Come on.
We got to get in a Thunderdome and sort this thing out.
It's around the beer for me. I think. I think I'm more disappointed by. I wanted to taste how it smells, and it doesn't. Which to me, not that it tastes bad. It's just it's not what I expected it to be. As Nally said, I probably wouldn't have more than maybe 2 in a night. I definitely wouldn't stick on it for the night.
This is the kind of beer that, if you're having people over to your house, maybe open 1 or 2 of them, pour them, and leave them around. Just because it's like a really nice candle, could add a good atmosphere to the house. Because it does smell fantastic.
It smells unreal, yeah.
I will say, for a lot of these Brewdog cans, they're the small 330 mils, and in a lot of off licenses and all that kind of stuff, they do usually come in like a pack of 4 in most cases. Now, I would drink the 4 of them happily, but I wouldn't be necessarily rushing out to get them either.
Yeah.
If I was to go in there and it's oh, there's 4, I haven't tried them, I got home, I'll drink all 4 of them happily. I'm not going to be disappointed at the end of them. But after that, I wouldn't be going back next time. I have to make sure that I have to pick up another 4, you know what I mean?
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the one where, if you rock up to someone's house and they say, do you want a beer? And they throw you out a can of that, you're not going to be disappointed, but you're not necessarily going to stock your own fridge with it.
Exactly, yeah.
And just to put one final nail in the coffin, I know I'm the one who gave it a slightly higher rating, but it's called Elvis juice, okay? And the little tagline that they've written on the side of the can is, juiced up and ready to roll. They haven't even quoted Elvis. So actually, no, that's a bit disappointing.
Oh, that's a booze. That's a booze, then. That's a booze, lad. How do you not do that?
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, I think puns and craft beer go hand in hand. So you've really missed a jump on that one. There's plenty there for puns for Elvis. I mean, the can should at least have his hair on it or something, right?
Very disappointed.
Okay, guys, so guess to round it up, we're settling on a just beer for this one. It's a grand tropical IPA. Anyone starting off wants their first one. You won't go wrong with this. You might not go right, but it's just beer.
Yep.
It's almost like you had that planned, isn't it?
It's almost like I do some prep for the podcast, Kinger, is it?
Hey, I'm the one running the show, man. Okay, I want to throw this one on you before you have much of time to think about it, right? So, I was wondering if you were to ever own your own craft brew bar, what would you call it?
Come on.
That's a great name, Walshy. You should definitely just call it that. Come on.
It's a weird name to call a bar.
I've actually got a half-baked idea of this because I considered doing my own home bar in a shed out in my garden. And the sign I was going to put over it was Hughes's Booze. So like Hughes Booze.
It works. That works.
Because when I thought about this question earlier, and I was thinking about what you might call your bars, and I thought you might go with Hughes Brews as opposed to Hughes Booze, but both work.
I mean, if it was a brewery, Hughes Brews, 100%.
Yeah.
If you're serving other people's
Fair,
beer,
yeah.
you know,
But did Kinger say bar or brewery?
bar.
A craft beer bar.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Hughes Booze it is.
I have a cheap one. It's just easy. I'm trying to think of a pun off my name, but I have nothing. Because we're from Athlone, I'm going to go with Da Town Brewery.
That's terrible.
Oh, sorry, Hugh.
Hey, it's not my fault that your surname doesn't rhyme with a beer-based word.
Right, okay. The only thing I could come up with is Walshy's Wagon, but
Oh my God.
you're on the wagon when you're full of beer.
That works. To be fair, that
I was
works.
stretching, but yeah.
I thought
It's on the wagon, not when you're not drinking, and because you fall off the wagon when you go back drinking.
Well, I mean, he could dress up the inside of the bar like the old kind of wagon, like wagon wheels in the wall and stuff, and make it a Western theme bar.
Oh my God, I would pay to see Walshy in a Stetson.
This has become more of a slagging match than I anticipated it was going to be.
Kinger, I would just like to say thank you for your, enthusiasm towards my initial idea. Do you know what I mean?
just
That's
trying to
what
get behind
friends
you,
do,
man.
I appreciate that.
so Nally, what would you name your bar?
Pub. That's it. I just call it pub. Where are you going? Pub. Done. Dusted. Simple. Get straight to the point. No faffing about. Pub.
But
How about you, Kinger?
I think I don't know, like, because everyone calls me Kinger, I'd probably go like Kinger's Keg House or something. Just something kind of,
Yeah, if you were funny, you could call it Kinger Zingers, but you're not funny.
no, definitely not.
So
Classy.
Okay, so what I decided to do was offer the olive branch to Walshy. And in our Sours episode 2, anyone listening, go back, check it out. We had an absolutely delightful beer called Leg Swap from the Hopfully Brewing Company. And so to bring these guys back in, because I think it was a really good beer the first time, and I really want to try more of their brews, we're going to try another one from Hopfully, and it's called Graciosa. And there's no flavour specifically assigned to this. It is a tropical IPA. So let's see what a brewery's idea of what tropical as a tropical IPA means.
nothing to do with the beer, to be fair, but like looking at the can initially, I love the design. It's just a real minimalistic, would you say turquoise blue kind of label?
Like all of Hopfully's cans, and I don't know if you guys have seen any of their other cans apart from Leg Swap and this, but please Google it because it's very entertaining. But it basically, for anyone who's a Pokemon fan, it looks like an Executor that has like one hand behind its head and is touching himself.
He is wearing a towel, to be fair.
Yeah, but he's still touching himself. Let's be honest.
And he has one eye instead of Executor having 3 heads.
Yeah, okay. It was a fairly loose analogy, Walshy. I'll give you that.
I mean, we're talking Pokemon here.
This isn't a Pokemon podcast. There's enough of them already.
Yeah, so just on this, Mark, the last one we had, the Elvis Juice by Brewdog, was grapefruit infused IPA. So this one, it's a little bit different. They're calling it a tropical IPA, but I think all of the flavors that they're getting are coming from the hops that they've used in it. I'm not sure what hops they've used in it. Sometimes it's great with some beers. They'll give you the hops that they've used on the side of the can, which is great. But these don't have it on it. But it's coming from the hops that they're getting that tropical flavor.
It's a lot lighter in color.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a good bit hazier as well. It looks to be less kind of carbonated or fizzy, if that makes sense.
I think the bubbles are there if you look at the bottom of your glass, but you're definitely not looking through this beer.
You can, as Nally was saying, there it depends on the hops that they use in it. You can definitely smell the hops, I'm finding. And I'm actually really liking the smell. It kind of reminds me of fresh cut grass or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a piney kind of a smell on it. It's really nice with its refreshing smell. Just a quick shout out on them. The Elvis juice is 6.5%, as opposed to this, which is 5.3%. So there is a difference in that as well. That it hasn't gone too high up in the alcohol, where it's the carbonation has died off. It's still quite fizzy, it's more subdued than the Elvis juice, but it's still there.
Yeah, there's definitely not as much of a pungent smell off of this. We've talked about the colour. The aroma, if you get close to it, you do get a very sweet smell. And then, in terms of the head, it holds a really good head, even better than the Elvis juice. It's almost like a stout head, the way this is holding it.
Yeah, so it's kind of straw coloured. It's definitely not as clear as the Elvis juice.
I feel like, for some reason, this is more of an acquired taste than the Elvis juice.
Yeah, that's possibly very true, but I have to say I am absolutely loving every mouthful of this. Straight away, I'm thinking the last Hopefully brew I had really surprised me, and I really loved it. But this, I wasn't surprised. Looking at a tropical IPA, it's something I really like. I don't think I've even had a bad one, and it's really right down my alley.
I wanted so hard to disagree with Mark in every way, shape, or form, but he's right. I am thoroughly enjoying this beer. I think it's gorgeous.
This is it's a bit of a strange one, lads, because you seem to butt heads an awful lot, but this is 2 episodes in a row where you've agreed. This is 3 beers in a row where you've agreed fully on what it is. I don't know what's
Nally,
happening
if you're
here.
asking me, I think it's all for show. I think they're texting outside of our podcast group and they're saying, "Oh, let's clash on this, and then they're sending little heart emojis to each other the whole time. I think that's what's actually happening.
You trying to screen my text, Kinger? Who do you think you are, my girlfriend?
Yeah, so the mouthfeel on this is it's not as fizzy as the last one. It's definitely a little bit less, but I don't think it lasts as long after you drink it either. With the Elvis juice, it kind of stuck around for a while. I think this one kind of, after you've had it, the flavour kind of dies off a little bit quicker. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just, you have to go back and get another mouthful to get the flavour back again.
Would you say it's efficient, Nally, that it does its job and then it's gone?
You got me. That's exactly how I like to describe beer. Efficient. If there's one word I would use for describing beer, it's efficient.
Efficient.
Yeah.
As Nally says, the taste goes away, and it just means you have to go for another sip. That's shocking. I have to continuously drink. I mean, that's devastating.
I don't know about you guys, but one thing I find with very sweet beers is, especially as you say, Nally, when the mouthfeel or the taste disappears quite quickly, and you're drinking a lot of it, is the sweetness can overpower you almost. It's too sweet, and then you're kind of like, oh, I'm a bit sick of this. But I'm almost finished this, and I have to say, I am not sick of it at all. I'm just dying for more.
It's weird, and I know maybe the name tropical IPA is playing in my imagination, but I could see myself quite happily sitting on a beach, kind of, blue skies, waves crashing, drinking this all day long. It's initially I didn't think I was going to like it too much, but the more I drink of it again, I think the more I'm getting into it.
Podcast isn't that big yet, Kinger. You might want to just shelve those dreams for a while.
that one sunny day Mark was talking about, we'll make sure to get a lock of them cans in. We'll go down to Burgess Park or something.
Burgess Park, home in the Midlands and Shandy.
Okay, so do we want to rate Hopfully's Graciosa then on our very scientific rating system?
Yeah, definitely. I'll let the other guys go first.
I'm still deciding. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to let Walshy go first. Walshy, you take the lead on this one. See where we land.
I was going to leave it to the other two boys because, Mark, me and yourself have kind of obviously big fans.
You're not going to
so
lowball
far.
him, like.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. You know what? Fine. If we're going to have this, I'm going to throw it out. I'm going to go that this is the first unbeer-leavable beer we have had.
Stop. Stop. Not at all.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's beautiful, unbelievable. Ooh, you're pushing it.
Just no. No, I couldn't go that far. It's really light on the malt. It's not overpowering or anything. The hops are there. It's really nice flavor, but I don't know, man. It's like, really, you're gonna sit down and drink a couple of pints of that? Like, I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect in a 330ml can, and I'll have 2 or 3 of them. But I don't think I'm sitting there having 3 or 4 pints. An awful lot. It's grand, like, but the pints would be killer, like.
You all know me. I'm super positive in my rating system. I've thrown a lot of 5s from my own Untapped up there. For me, it's definitely better than just beer. I think it's hovering nicely around the Brewdog. I definitely would have a few of these, like, for a day session, but I'd have to switch off it at some point.
That's fair, and like you were saying earlier on, Kinger, on a beach. I don't know when we'll ever get on a beach again, but that one sunny day in June that we get again, I look forward to. Yeah, sunny day out in a beer garden, happily drink. Because they're only 330ml, I'd happily drink, 5 or 6 of them. But all night could be a bit much because it is pretty sweet. It
is nice. Don't get me wrong. It is lovely. I don't think it's up there with, like, there are no better beers than this. I don't think it's at that level, if that makes sense.
I mean, fair enough. Like, I don't think I've had a better tropical IPA than this, but I have to bow to the consensus of the group.
Have you had many tropical IPAs, Mark?
You might still call me Hawaii 5-0, Walshy. You're looking at Mr. Tropical over here, okay?
Nope.
This man has an extensive range of Hawaiian shirts, for God's sake.
Do you want me to get a Hawaiian shirt? I'll get a Hawaiian shirt. I'll post it to you down in Athlone. You can wear it. You can wear it down to Golden Island and see what happens to you.
I would like to find out, calling yourself Hawaii 5-0 might be copyright, and Wayne Mardle might have something to say about that.
Is that not Hawaii 501?
I fucked that up. Damn it, I thought that was good. Nally, did you specify really where you stood?
Yeah, I think regardless of where I stand, I think the 3E have it as a beautiful. So I don't know how much of a difference I can make. I don't want to give it unbearable because, that might drag it down to where I think it should live, but I can't do that. That's not justified. It's a cheat way of doing it. So to me, it's just beer. It's just beer. It's grand. It's grand. It's just beer. Like I said, I can't imagine sitting down drinking 4 or 5 pints of this. It's not gonna be the best thing in the world. But again, if someone gives me a pint of it or gives me a can of it, I'm never going to turn it down. It's just meh. It's grand.
Okay, so that being said, with a just beer rating, an unbeerleavable Jeff, and 2 Brewdog's, are we landing on Brewdog?
I think so.
Yeah.
That seems like the consensus.
That's fair
Okay,
enough.
Hopfully's Graciosa gets a Brewdog rating from the Crafty Crew podcast. Okay, you're stranded on a desert island. What 3 beers are you going to bring with you?
Kinger, do you mean specific beers or beer styles?
I was going to ask that as well, yeah.
Let's go specific beers.
Okay, I'm going to kick this off, and I'm going to say if we're stranded on a desert island, it means we are in a tropical environment. Is that fair to say, Kinger?
It's your interpretation.
But Kinger, is it fair to say?
It's fair to say.
Yeah, it's fair to say. So the first beer I'd pick is Hopfully's Graciosa, because I think this is a fantastic tropical IPA that would go absolutely beautifully on a deserted desert island in the middle of nowhere. We're not
upping the rating.
God Damn it. Okay, well, I genuinely would bring that. I think it's delicious.
Okay.
I think it's fantastic. In terms of what else I'd bring a nice smooth um IPA. Let's mend the bridges with Brewdog. I'd bring their Punk IPA, nice and smooth and tasty, really well recognized IPA. And then for the those nights where the sun sets and it starts to get a bit chilly, I'd bring some lovely cans of Guinness.
Walshy's deep in thought there.
Yeah. No, I'm actually looking at my wall and all my stickers to try to get some. I do have a few. I mean, Desert Island really makes no difference. I'm just going to pick 3 of my favourites. I'm going to go off with the standard. Dead Center, Seeking Sunshine.
Other breweries
For
are
me-
available.
Oh. Dead Center, Seeking Sunshine. For me, that's the pinnacle. After that, then I'm going with. It probably wouldn't suit the scenery, but Glass from the White Hag. It's a milkshake IPA. Nally knows what we're talking about here. Beautiful stuff. And then Rascals. It's called the Candyman. It is a salted caramel stout for them evenings. Beautiful, nice evenings that Mark was referring to.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm going to have to rob one of them off with Walshy. Dead Center Seeking Sunshine it's class. Go on, Mark, get it in.
I'm just saying it's a little bit funny picking a beer called Seeking Sunshine if you're stranded on a desert island where probably the one thing you can't get less of is sunshine. It's the one thing you have too much of.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll change it up to the other one that they brought out there recently. It was part of their limited edition. It was Silhouettes, which is very similar to Seeking Sunshine, but big fan of that. So let's go with Silhouettes instead of Seeking Sunshine, Mark, just to cover that for you. My second beer then would probably be wit beer. So St. Bernardus do a really great wit beer. It's kind of a Belgian beer. It's class, so there's a big fan of it. So I would have that as my second beer. And then probably, just to change it up then, probably a stout of some sort. So, I know the one. Wicklow Wolf last year brought out these. It was class. It was my favourite. They brought out Apex S'mores. It was part of their. So Wicklow Wolf have this line that they do every so often. It's their endangered species. So it's limited run of a beer. They brought this one out, Apex S'mores, the marshmallow stout. I loved it. It was class. So much so I tried to get it for Christmas and there was no sign of it anywhere. It's gone. So they'd be my 3. Silhouettes, St. Bernardo's Wit Beer and Apex S'mores by Wicklow Wolf. How about you, Kenger? You've had long enough now to think about it.
I have, yeah, and I actually hadn't thought about this one. I would probably, not my number one choice, but I would agree with Mark on one. I'd have to have Guinness, because it's just like to remind me of home, if nothing else. Hope Brewing had one called Pass If You Can, which I had over Christmas, and it was like, holy shit, like, it's outrageously good.
Yes, representing the North County Dublin Buzz up here, Hope Brewing Company, Baldoyle. Please, any listeners, if you love a good craft brewery, Hope Brewery are one of the best in the country. Try them out. And if Hope Brewery appreciate my plug and want to send me some free beer, craftycrewpodcast@gmail.com.
Just an important note there, Mark. Other breweries are available.
Hey.
And my third one, I think, would have to be Meskin's Westport Blonde Beer. It's just incredible. So I'd say Guinness, Meskin Blonde, and Hope's Pass If You Can will be my 3. That about wraps up this week's episode of the Crafty Crew podcast. Next week's episode is on red ales, and it's fallen to me to choose the beers. So I'm choosing Galway Bay's Bay Ale and Dublin City Brewing Company's Renegade. Also, if you have any questions for the podcast, Mark, where can people get in touch?
Everybody can get in touch with us on Facebook, Spotify, SoundCloud, Anchor, any of your usual podcast streaming services at Crafty Crew Podcast. And if you want to follow all of our ratings for all of the beers we try, find us at crafty_crew_podcast on Untapped.
Deadly. And on that note, it's a goodbye from Mark, from Walshy, from Nally, and from myself, Kinger. See you next week.